Hey, everybody, it's Monday night. It's Always Bookin Comedy. I'm here with Jonny Stein from the Bay Area, where I'll be in a couple months back there. And I'm in Colorado right now. Jonny, how you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm good. I was this close to being late, so I ran home. So
Amazing. Thank you. I was also pretty close to being late. So
good.
nobody would have known if we wouldn't have mentioned it.
It's true.
But it is true. I got a new swag. Oh, other side. We're backwards. Vail Comedy Show.
Oh
It's a
yeah,
little too big. I need to shrink it if I order some more ones. I got these because I perform in a Vail Comedy Festival hoodie year round, and in the summer it's too hot. It's like a winter kind of thing, but I wear it anyways because I want the branding and I want people to see it. But I sweat. It's like uncomfortable.
Right.
Especially if you're doing a long set and there's like bright lights and there's no air conditioning and packed room, it can be pretty brutal.
Oh yeah, when it's like small and kind of your stench is just filling the whole room.
Exactly.
Oh,
exactly. Yeah, you don't want that. That's bad branding. That's actually negative brand value right there.
Right.
What's going on? Where are you in the city? Are you in Oakland? Where are you?
I'm in Oakland. Yeah, I live right on the water here in Oakland, which is actually phenomenal.
That the so which water, like the ocean or like where the people do the cruise stuff?
In fact, it's happening right now. They're going back and forth. It's like the little estuary between Oakland and Alameda.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out if that's the same place I'm thinking of. Like, is there a show right next to that, like in the back room of a bar?
Yep. You're Seawolf probably. Yeah, there's a number of shows out here. In like within a walking distance. I moved down here from the North Bay. I lived in Petaluma for a while.
Okay.
And it was, a lot of like high driving coming home from shows. It's very nice to not put my life in danger anymore and be able to just walk home from these shows. It's really nice.
That's hilarious. We have high driving out here, but it's high altitude driving.
Right. It's just a little bit loopy.
We got a note from North Carolina, tuned in online. We are live. If you're watching this later, you can tune in live every Monday and ask questions if you want. Let's go ahead and start with some questions. So you moved to Oakland from the north. I don't know. What is comedy? Was the move for comedy or is the move for other stuff? And how did it impact comedy? Better or worse?
Oh, okay. Way better. So the move was sort of for comedy. I was already doing a lot of stuff. It's not too far of a commute. I worked in the city while I lived up there.
Okay.
And the nice thing, there's a scene in San Francisco, but there's also a really vibrant and great scene in Sacramento. So being sort of in between those two was nice. But as I say, it's like you drive an hour for $20 for 7 minutes on a bar show, So
wow, you're making $20 a show? Good Lord, you're killing it.
SF, they really pay you good. But yeah, so I was already working in the city and then I moved down. My roommate's also a comic. And so we moved down together and just are integrating a lot more in the scene. It's way better for comedy. Proximity. It's more than I could have predicted, I think.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah. So you were expecting it to be better, but it was even better than you expected.
Yeah, it's quick. I got Sketchfest this year, which was really fun.
Cool. That just happened, right?
Yeah. It's actually still happening. There's one.
Oh, okay. Have you already done your spots or?
Yeah. Those were all the first week. So.
Nice. Tell me, I don't know a lot about Sketchfest. I didn't even know it was multiple weeks. Tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah. So apparently, it's like a major festival, but I guess I don't know what the metric is, but it's been thrown around the biggest festival. I don't know if that's like by number of people in it or by area. But it's a big festival and it's sketch and improv and stand up and then podcasts. And it's a multi-week festival. They do mainly at the Punchline, at Cobb's, and then there's 2 other venues that are mostly used.
Did they take those over for the weekends?
Yeah.
Wow.
In fact, I think actually I think if I remember the schedule, it's Wednesday through Sunday. There's shows at all those venues.
Wow, that's
So,
crazy. For
yeah.
anybody who's not familiar, Cobb's and Punchline are the biggest clubs in San Francisco. So just imagine whatever city you're in, the biggest clubs being taken over by a festival not run by the clubs. That's a pretty big deal. That's neat.
Yeah,
That's cool.
and it's also nice. I mean, I guess this is probably true of any festival, but the fact that it's 3 weeks, we have so many out of towners. I mean, speaking of producing, I have this show every Thursday, and it's just nice to get make some connections and have some out of towners on this show. And
does that happen every year, or is that new this year because you were part of Sketchfest?
Well, so this is my first time on this show, or like producing this show while Sketchfest has been going on.
Got it.
So it's the first time I'm seeing it, but definitely like my memory of SF shows every year will have a lot of out of towners on it. And my roommate, he started in Toronto. I started in New York. So we both have some connections there, and like have run into people, from years past, at these shows during Sketchfest. It's a lot of fun.
Nice. That's awesome. And how was what spot or spots did you have?
I did a queer show. I did a gay show, and it's pretty much like, as a gay comic, that's what I am now. I've kind of like worn the sash, and I am now a gay comic. So it's that's a lot of what I'm booking in these kinds of things.
Okay, nice. I am running a show for Queer Ski Week in Vail, Colorado, coming up in March. So if this goes well and we do it again next year, we might, if you like skiing, maybe we'll have you out.
I love skiing and I love being queer. So anything, I'll do them both.
Awesome. Yeah. Not to pigeonhole comics, but do you happen to know MK Paulson or know of him? He's out of Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. So funny, incredibly funny.
Oh yeah.
And just happens to be in that category.
Yeah.
And such a nice guy. He's really cool. I don't know if you could ever get him up to San Francisco to do a show, but he'd be a ton of fun if you could. Have you ever heard of the show Inside Jokes on Amazon Prime? It's a 6-episode documentary series about comics from New York and LA trying to get into Just for Laughs.
Yes. I think did that come out in like 2018, 2019?
That sounds about right. Yeah. Did you watch it?
Yeah, I watched it. It was right when I started.
Yeah, so MK is one of the main characters. He's the guy who goes down and comes out in Texas to his family, or maybe it come out previously. He plays the piano a little bit, and he works in the coffee shop.
Yeah.
That's
like is he riding a big legal pad? Yeah. I remember that. Yep. Oh, cool.
Yeah. He's great. So, anyways, that's interesting. How has that changed? Has that impacted your comedy career, like over time? Like, do you embrace it now more than you used to? And does it help you get bookings or?
Yeah, it's interesting. I definitely, okay. So a few things. I think it's fascinating in San Francisco because you would think kind of like gay Mecca, lots of gay comics. I only know 3 other gay male comics.
Is one of them older? I saw a guy at the Punchline one, so I'm pretty sure is local.
Yeah.
Do you know who I'm talking about?
Scott Capurro, maybe.
Maybe. He was so funny. He was really good.
He is. What's
his name?
Scott Capurro.
Oh, Scott. Yeah, probably. Yeah, that's probably him. He's fantastic. Anybody watching this, book that guy. He's hilarious.
He's unbelievable. He is he'll come on stage on a tight room in the Punchline on a Sunday and just say the most sort of like rancid stuff, and just he's hilarious. I mean, he's got such a mastery of it. He's so good.
Yeah. Okay. So sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. So I was surprised by that, I think, in San Francisco, but then, but I do think I'm embracing it a little bit as a way. I don't know. I'm sort of stealing this idea, but when I started comedy, I was kind of like inundated with like podcasts of people what pros would say about why they were doing comedy and all this stuff. And do you know Naomi Ekperigin?
No.
Okay, she's a New York comic, but she said something about like why she's this Black woman and she does comedy for the little Black nerdy girl that she was, sort of like in conversation with that girl. And I feel like that's kind of what I've kind of crafted. Like I feel like now as I write jokes, it is like for me at 16, just being like, it's gonna be okay, which has been.
Where did you grow up? Did you grow up in the Bay Area?
I did. I grew up in the Bay Area, and it was still like, I mean, obviously way more open than probably anywhere else in the whole world, but
still different and a challenge.
Yeah. And so I think I like making comedy for that has been like, I don't think of it as being pigeonholed anymore. And I certainly did when I started, but now I feel a lot more like, this is the lane that I want to be in,
Nice. Yeah. And would you say every set it's evident that like that's your persona and it comes out, or do you sometimes do a 7-10 minute set and it just doesn't come up because you're talking about Arby's or whatever?
Yeah, I would. Yes, I think my best jokes are my gay jokes because I think that they are just like, again, truest to what I want to write about. But definitely there are sets. I'm working on a joke right now that has nothing to do with it, and I really like to bring that in as much as I can. If I'm ever bombing, though, if I'm bombing with not gay stuff, I'll be like, I'm gay if that helps you guys. if that can help, then I'm gay.
In the right places, that will usually work.
Exactly.
It might not work in Montana, North Dakota, certain places I've been. There might be a chat that might dig you a bigger hole, but I'm sure you could get out of it.
Yeah, I know. But in the Bay, they're like, woo! They're like,
that's hilarious. Yeah. Denver's kind of like that too. It's very woke, as they say.
Yeah.
With generally the audiences. Well, that's terrific. That's cool. So was that a journey to get there? Like when you was like the first open mic you went to, do you remember that set? Did you talk about being gay in that?
I didn't. I do remember it. So the first time I ever did comedy was, so I used to do musical theater. That was my like full-time job. And we had which honestly, like if I were to say that I was gay while doing musical theater, it would be sort of redundant. I didn't need to kind of do that. So, but we had this talent show within the cast as kind of a joke. And I did a stand-up set. I loved comedy, but I never thought I could do it. So I was like, this is the perfect place to just like fail in front of my friends and who cares? And it was like a really alt set. It was like not edgy, but just like weird alt comedy, almost like a character. And I had so much fun. I had so much crazy fun. And then I think pretty much that set my first actual open mic. So I just kind of took that. It obviously didn't hit as hard in front of people I didn't know, but it had nothing to do with being gay. It was all kind of, again, it was almost like a, like Netflix characters kind of thing. But then I pretty quickly developed some jokes about like, how am I going to come out? Because I think that was something I needed to, it's an interesting thing being a gay comic and not really presenting as super flamboyant. You have to, I think of that as a comedy moment. Like I can use coming out. I can write a joke where I come out to the audience and that's the misdirect or that's the surprise, Yeah. So I've been like working with what does that mean? And like, how do I do that honestly? And that happened pretty quick.
Huh. Okay. So I got a question for you. So when you do a queer show, gay show, whatever you want to call it. So most of the comics are gay, like the one you did at Sketchfest. Is it more important to watch the show to make sure other people didn't do similar punchline? Because there's only so many, double entendres, puns, whatever.
Right.
And does that happen where you're like, oh, whoops, can't do the whatever, the gay bar joke or whatever?
Okay. So I don't find, I have a lot of my, like I have a big chunk that is about how I wish I was straight, which I don't see a lot of gay guys doing. So I'm pretty safe around that.
Okay.
but there are certain things like where you don't want, if like all 4 people before you have used the word fag, right? You don't want to be another one to like hammer that home. And it's there's some awareness of that.
Okay.
I actually have found more that like with gay crowds, I have found, I think that I write gay joke. I because it was like out of the city for so long, and I was in really straight rooms for so long. I think I wrote for a while like gay jokes for straight people, and being in gay rooms with gay crowds was when I was like, oh man, I have to be more aware of like which jokes I pick, because I think a lot of these might. I like looked back. I remember like doing my first gay show in the city and looking at my notes and being like, whoa, these are all homophobic. They're 100% of them are homophobic. So I had to really kind of investigate that, and that took that was about a year of my therapy that helped with that. So
Well, that's amazing.
yeah.
Okay, so have you been in a situation where somebody? So it sounds like you have pretty unique material,
Mhm.
but have you ever been on, or have you observed 2 other comics basically tell
Mhm.
roughly the same joke?
Yes, I think there is a oh, how do I say this in a kind way?
Or premise even. Like, it doesn't like, sometimes I'll be watching a show and somebody will do a premise that
Mm,
was planning to do, and it's like, my punchlines aren't the same, and I even have a different take, but, like, do
yeah.
people really wanna hear about Applebee's twice in one show, or whatever
Right.
it is?
Right.
Commuting to work,
Yeah.
toilet paper shortages, whatever the
Yeah. Yeah.
premise
Yeah.
is. Um,
Yeah. I haven't noticed it other than the ones that would be in like dating apps or
Yeah.
like
Grindr, that's a great example. Yeah, like,
Grinder.
if somebody does a Grindr joke in bit right before you, and you were gonna do a Grindr bit,
Yeah.
do you change your set? Or you're like, "Whatever, I can do,"
Oh, I would definitely change my set in that case.
Okay.
The one there is kind of a I think a gay hack joke that has been around a little bit about Grinder being like Pokemon Go for gay men. I've heard it so many times all
Sure.
across the nation,
Okay.
and that's one that I'm like, yeah, all right, cool, Pokemon. Let's go back to the Pokemon Go jokes again. It's 8 years later, or whatever.
Sure.
But yeah, I don't run into that too much. I do think that there's like a gay vernacular and a gay kind of sense of humor, like almost monolithic sense of humor, that with people who are maybe chronically online or something like that. And those jokes, those kind of meme jokes, I've seen those come up on stage, and that always it's not done twice in a show, but it just feels redundant because it's done so much elsewhere.
Yeah, that's interesting. So you're kinda taking the idea I had, but it's really on a bigger level. Like, if you see
Mhm,
the same joke at 3 different showcases,
mhm.
and maybe you were working on a joke like that, you're like, "I'm throwing this one away because it's
Yes.
like, it's out there. I can be more original than that."
Yes.
That's a good, that's an interesting take. I find that as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll notice, I was at Comedy Works this weekend after a show, just watching like a
Mhm.
nationally touring headliner, and the feature did a joke that, like, just right as they were setting it up, I was like, I know the punchline to this
Yeah.
already.
Yeah.
And I was just like, in my head, I was a little embarrassed for the feature. I mean, the audience didn't care at all, right?
Yeah.
Most audiences, they go to one comedy show a year. So
Right.
they have no idea. But in my own head, I was suddenly like, do I have any jokes like that? Like, am I
Yeah.
telling jokes that people can guess the
Yeah.
punchlines to?
Yeah.
So yeah.
This just happened with a friend of mine, actually. She has a joke that's about like a dog joke that I love. I think it's so much fun. It's like it's part of her A set, and it like involves a callback at the end. It's kind of like a part of the architecture of her jokes. And she's pretty new. She's only about 2 years in, and she just recently saw like a brand new open micer with nearly the same joke, and she was like, she was like, we kept saying like, it's okay, yours is better, and she was like, I don't care about that. I'm like, he thought of it, so what am I doing? You know, so it was pretty interesting. Yeah.
There's a comic in Denver who had just one of his best jokes, and spacing on his name. Who's the super dark guy at the Comedy Store? Anthony Jeselnik came out with a special like 4 or 5 years ago. I watched it, and this guy's joke was in it, like almost word for word. And I totally believe that they came up with it independently.
Yeah.
But that guy, he still tells the joke. He told it on Kill Tony recently. He told it on an album he recorded.
Yeah.
And it was like, I've definitely heard of people throwing away jokes because famous people do them, but it doesn't always happen. And that one was more like a one-liner, not like a whole chunk.
It's heartbreaking, right? It's heartbreaking when
it's
like
a bummer.
Yeah,
it's hard to come up with good jokes.
Yeah. I mean, you keep refining your set over time, and then you're like, oh, God, I don't have anything else. Like, I don't want to do anything else. I was excited.
Yeah, and sometimes it's like a bridge between two different jokes, and so it messes up your whole chunk. And that's a bummer.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about running shows a little bit. I'm actually curious about, do you run any gay shows, or have you run any gay shows?
No, I never have. I've all the shows that I've run, I help run one in Sonoma, which is like we try to make it a little bit more like a club style with maybe one or two openers.
Tell me about that a little bit. Like, is that at a vineyard, or what?
It's just a bar show. My roommate works up there in Sonoma, and so he started it off. And it's
how long a drive is that?
An hour.
Wow, that's a long commute. Holy cow.
Yeah. I know. I do feel bad. But yeah, we try to space that out. Like, we've got two openers we feature, and then like try to get a headliner from the area, local one, or if someone's in town, getting a bigger name.
By local, you mean Bay Area, and then they drive an hour up, or do you mean live in Sonoma?
Oh yeah, sorry, Bay Area or Sacramento. So like Northern California. Yeah, and that's, I mean, it's really fun. We usually pack the bar. It's once a month, like 70 people. Nice. We're able to pay really well because it's like all run by tips, and then we also get a cut. So it's a really, I love the show. It's a lot of fun. Nice. What's it called? Then it's called, it's the Starling Comedy Show. It's at the Starling Bar. So it's the Starling Comedy. And then he and I also help run this one in Oakland that you were on, at that brewery.
Nice. Amazing. Yeah. Cool. What have you learned? Have you learned any specific lessons up in Sonoma show running that you've taken to other shows? Yeah.
So I am like completely inept with sort of detail orientation. I am really bad at an Excel spreadsheet or anything. And Patrick handles a lot of that, I will say. But the organization, and particularly the marketing, getting on Eventbrite and learning all of that from the ground up, because I had never done it before, has been, I mean, we bring in 70 people every show, often new people. It's often not like a regular, typical audience. It's in a pretty touristy area. So learning that side of producing, the marketing, and the audience acquisition, basically, has been that, I think, actually that more than Oakland. Oakland, we'll walk around the beer garden that night and bark people in, and that's how we do it. But with Starling, it's like ticket sales, and it's the only event that the bar's not open on Tuesdays, so it's just for us that they're open. Right. So it's been a lot more of an organizational, at one point, nightmare for me, but it has become a lot more seamless.
Nice. And I'm sure that builds confidence too. And someday you might see a venue and be like, oh, I could probably reproduce that Starling thing here.
Yeah.
And you can talk to the venue ownership and be like, look, here's some pictures. I'm successful at this in this other location.
Yeah. Yeah. And understanding what is a fair deal with the bar, understanding how do we get you to, how do we get the bar to benefit and also have that be a fair deal, especially with ticket sales and understanding that whole side.
Yeah. You got to, if there's one thing I've learned in comedy, it's that when both sides are happy in a business arrangement, everything is gravy. Like you really need that mutually beneficial, like you need to be winning, they need to be winning.
Right.
One party can't be winning and like taking all the money or getting all the whatever.
Right. Right. And it's relatively, once you figure out the pattern, it's relatively easy to do that. You just need to know, like, what are the words I need to say so that that I have your back. And also I want to, have a fair deal.
What do you do with equipment up there? Is it like a rock? Do they have like a stage and stuff, or do you cart in everything?
They have a stage. And all of the like amps and mics and everything is theirs.
Nice.
Because I think they do a square dancing night every other Tuesday, I think.
Nice.
So it's a fun. And then there's 2 stages too. We were originally on this large stage, but the orientation of the room, that's something else that like you do think about as a comic, but as you're producing a lot more, you think about like the shape of the room and where are the seats.
Did you switch to a wider room?
We switched
or orientation.
We kind of just turned the room around, but so now the stage is in what used to be the back.
Okay.
But it's a lot thin. It's a lot more clustered and thinner and closer together if we have less, fewer audience. If we have 40,
it's adaptable.
Nice. So it's working a lot better.
That's awesome. Do you arrange carpools when you're like, I'm thinking logistically, when you're an hour away from a major metro area?
Usually we give like headliner, we'll pick the headliner first for the lineup if we can, and then see if they want to carpool with anyone, and then we'll book that person. Try to if there's people from Sacramento, we try to book 2 from Sacramento so that they have the option to carpool, or same thing with San Francisco. We will sometimes book some North Bay comics, and that's not as big of a deal, but we like, I mean, I've driven people up after work, and that's part of it. That's part of the
project. You gotta, show must go on. Okay, we're gonna start wrapping this up, and we got a question from online. Jonny, any goals for 2025?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm looking ahead at wanting to apply to a lot more festivals this year. This is like, I'm just stoked on this experience with Sketchfest and being able to meet so many people from around the country. And
can you rattle off some names? Anybody you really enjoyed meeting and where they were from?
Yeah, so I got really close. She used to be in the Bay. She's now in New York. Geneva Rust Orta is phenomenal. She's hilariously funny. And like, she's out in New York. She's about to film her special on March 27th. If you're in New York, incredible, really, really wonderful person. Another Meredith Dietz from New York as well. Got to be on a show with her. And there's one whose name I completely forgot.
That's okay. Well, if you think of it later, shout it out. What was that?
We'll add it in post.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Other goals. So lots of festivals. You got any specific ones in mind?
I mean,
are you going to apply to the International San Francisco Comedy Competition, whatever it's called?
Yes, the San Francisco Comedy Competition that I am applying this year. I have gotten, we'll see. That's sort of in the works, maybe.
Okay.
And then, I only know about a few. Limestone, Skankfest. Those kind of Vail, of course.
Yeah, VailComedyFestival.com, everybody. Every Memorial Day weekend. Applications open until February 14th. That's Valentine's Day. Can you apply to Skankfest, or is that like an invite situation?
Well, they have application. It could be one of those things that's like sort of. They do have like an applications website.
Oh, okay. And you can like pay a fee and submit.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that. I might try that. I volunteer at Skankfest every year. It's super fun.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's a great way. Like, that's another trick. If to anybody, maybe you're struggling to get into festivals or not, either way, volunteering at festivals is almost as fun as being part of the festival. It's not quite as good, but you get to see all the comedy, you get to hang out with the comics, you get to like I used to volunteer at Red Clay in Atlanta every year. And that was just a great way to meet a bunch of comics and see, talking about show production, just seeing like how a festival is run and all these individual shows. I can't recommend that highly enough. And you can apply to be a volunteer at ValeComedyFestival.com.
Perfect.
Amazing. How that came full circle. All right. One last goal. You got one other goal besides festivals?
Sure. Let's see. I mean, I'll try to go non-comedy related.
Okay.
I'm a math teacher, and I would love for 3 of my seniors, I have them in mind, to major in math. I want them to commit by the end of senior year to go to college and major in math. That's like a big goal of mine.
That's so cool. That's amazing. Jonny, this has been so much fun. How can people find you?
I'm on Instagram at small Jonny Stein, Johnny with no H, as it says. And then that's my only social media right now. But
perfect.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, everybody. Every Monday we're back, Always Bookin Comedy. If you're in Sonoma, check out the Starline Comedy Show once a month on Tuesdays. Keep your ears open for Jonny Stein. And everybody have a great week. We're going to